Dave here. How are you? Today on the show, we're going to have a look at a viewer's project that involves one of these routers. Now, you might go, yeah, I've got one of those. Well, if you've got one of these and also the LR32 system, but don't have it, you are going to want to watch this show. This is going to be mostly about this, and we'll also have a look at some of the other things that I've done, and we might even look at changing the screws on my tool chest, because I've had a little bit of a catastrophe with them. So we may go to Euro screws like Stephen Wallbank suggested. Anyway, show will be starting very soon. I hope you can join me. See you soon. Bye. Dave here. How are you? Dave here. How are you? Today is the 22nd of May 2022. I've been watching the viewers, how many watch, a few there until around about 1 minute to go. Then, man, it starts ramping up really quick. And 54 now. Brilliant. Let's see if we can crack 100 today. Now, today is basically going to be totally about this little trim router. Now, I've had this for quite a long time, and it's got to be my favorite router for hand use. In the table, I've got another one, but this is the one that I use most of the time. Why? Because it's nice and light. I can do most things with this. Big stuff, I grab the Triton or the Festool. Now, speaking of Festool, I never owned a Festool router for years and years. I've had this for much longer. And then I thought to myself, I need to get one. And why? Well, because I already had the LR32 rail. This is a guide rail from Festool that is perforated 32mm centers, and it is designed to work with their LR32 system. Now, why did I get this track when I didn't have the system? Well, I thought one day I'll get the system, so spend a few more dollars on this particular guide rail and still use it for the track saw and all the other things, but I was prepared. Now, a little while ago, maybe a couple of months ago, Bob got in touch with me, and Bob's available in the chat session down the side here. So he will answer any questions that you might have about this thing that he's designed to work with this router, to enable it to work with this rail, and to give you perfect shelf pin holes in a cabinet prior to assembly. Now, I also have the Craig it's not a shocker, Craig shelf pin jig, and I've got links in the description box below for those, and that is an affiliate link. And I've also got links to Bob's website, and there is no affiliation. It's just that Bob struck me as a nice guy. He used to be a manual arts teacher, I think, and he's done a couple of videos. Needs a bit of brushing up on the style, which he's told me, but I'm sure he'll get there. And what I want to do, here's a challenge for you. Bob had 97 subscribers to his YouTube channel when I checked about an hour ago. Let's see if we can double that. Now, I don't care if you have any interest in what Bob does. This is about being a nice person and putting a smile on his face. So let's jump in when you can. Don't go yet, children. You stay there. Sit down, calm down. And then when you're ready, duck over or open it up in another browser and subscribe to his channel. You can watch the stuff after, but this would put a big smile on Bob's face. And when you're watching this, you can make up your mind if you want to. Yes, I'll do that, or no, I don't want to do it. Your call. Now, the thing is with the LR32 system, to use Bob's attachment for this, you will need the LR32 plate that travels. And I've got a picture of one here for you so you can have a look. That guy there. Now, it tracks along the top section of T-track that's upside down, basically, on the guide rail. And it's got a little rocker thing in the center there, and it's got a 6mm pin or 1/4 inch pin that drops up and down and locks into these holes. You can see on the right hand side it's got a large hole and some smaller holes and some knobs and things. And I'll explain what all that does. Now, there's 2 prongs, there's 2 parts to this. So the first part is, like everyone else, Bob's got a 3D printer and he prints these up. Now this is an adapter plate to go on the bottom of the little Dewalt trim router. He's also making these up for Makita, I think, as well. Again, there's no affiliation. I'm just letting you know because a lot of people say, well, Festool's so expensive. Well, here's a way around that if you want. I'm always keen if I can use an aftermarket or someone else's brand of router on the guide rails, because I think guide rails are fantastic. Or if you wanted to, you could use a Makita rail, but I don't think they've got the perforations for the shelf pins. Anyway, enough of all of that. So on the underside is a spot where we've got 4 screws lock the base plate. This is that perspex or polycarbonate base plate onto the body of the plunge section. Now this router normally comes with a plunge like this, up and down, or it comes with the trim section, which is basically a cylinder that this top section locks into. So let me take that out. When I do this, out it pops. How handy is that? And it drops into another one. Now I've got it mounted in a little trim router table that I've got down the back, and I'll lock it upside down. You've probably seen me use it on the show before. I'm going to leave this out for the moment. Make it a little bit easier to show you all of this. So there you go. That's the underside. Now, while I remember, around on this side, see this? I cut the outside section of the dust extraction port off. Now, why did I do that? Because I can put my Festool hose directly on it. I'll show you how well that works. See this standard Festool hose, straight over and down. And that is going to give you a whole lot more penetration onto the pickup point down here for the dust extraction port than if you leave the outside shield on. Now, maybe Bob's already learnt that straight away from what I've just said. I noticed in his video, he's still got the outside there. Some people don't like getting a hacksaw and starting to make their own adaptations to tools. I love it. I don't care. Anyway, I keep telling everyone I'm field independent. I don't care. Some people call it bull in a china shop. Maybe. Anyway, so there we go. There's the first couple of things. And we have those holes in the bottom. Now, on the base, you'll notice there's a pair of holes, pair of holes, pair of holes, pair of holes, in case you want to orientate this on the guide rail one direction or the other direction. Now, Bob suggests that you mount it so that it's traveling down the guide rail like this. And I'm going to go to Carl Camp for this little bit, just to make it a little bit easier. So you can have it so that the router travels that way, which means that this plate would be around possibly like that. See on the side here, there's a little gap. Whoop, I'm wrong camera. Up here, little gap. That's for that pin thing to go up and down. But he suggests you put it around this way because you've got a whole lot more control of the router as you're pushing it. Push, 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 push. Now, here's a thing. It's going to be a pain in the backside to release this and push down every time. See what I'm doing? I'm pushing that to release the plunge, otherwise it locks. So here's the other brainwave that Bob had. This is the part that I think is fantastic. Look, lots of people can do things like this. You know, it's not a deal breaker. It can be done. But the thing is, if you get it from Bob, it's already done. You haven't got to worry about it. Let's go back to the other camera. So, what we need to do is disable the lock, but make it safe. So, here's what Bob did. He's got this little pack, and it's called Dewalt Plunge Lock Lockout Kit DWLO-01. Now, I'm guessing DWLO stands for Dewalt Lockout. DWLO, yep. And 01 means this is his first attempt. And he got it right the first time. I'm going to show you how it works. You will need an Allen key. Or some people call it a hex wrench, whatever you want. The parcel has got two things in it. It's got this sexy little fellow with the spring on the side. And it's got a socket head machine screw, or bolt, whatever you want to call it. You know, let's not get too funny about it all. And we're going to take the handle off here, off this side that's got this duver on it. Okay? Now, when you do it, be aware that inside here, when you undo it, it's bloody tight and it's got Loctite on it. There's a blue Loctite on there. Of course, I've learnt not to try and do things first time on the show because sometimes it ends up being ugly. So I don't like looking ugly. Some would say I already look ugly, got no say in the matter. Anyway, we undo it. So as I say, down inside there, and you'll notice the handle flops around when you take it off. Don't worry, don't panic. Take it off. And there is the blue Loctite on it. Okay? Now, if you want to, Bob's probably correcting me in the background. Socket head cap screw is to replace the OEM screw, which is not long enough with the lockout adapter on there. Correct. So this is the new one that Bob gives you. You haven't got to go down the store and buy one. You can see how it's longer by around 10 millimeters, 3/8 of an inch odd. And that just happens to be the same thickness as his insert adapter. Now, when you put it on, you'll notice there is a slot in here and a protrusion on this side. Slots, protrusion. Okay, all cool? You're getting excited? I am. Okay, now the next thing we need to do is take the spring washer off, the one that Dewalt had already put on there, and we're going to put it on the new, whatever Bob called it, socket head cap screw. Okay, there is the washer, spring washer on the new socket head cap screw. We're going to drop that into the handle, like so. We're going to put this guy on in between. Now, don't get it arse about. The spring goes on the opposite side to the dust port. Okay? There's the dust port here, and the spring is on this side. See that? Okay. And it's going to line up. Well, you can't put it round back to front anyway. You know why? Because you've got the pimple on this side and the dimple on that side. Let's call it a pimple and a dimple. Why not? I'm an idiot. Anyway, there we go. That's that. We're going to put the handle on through that and line everything up. And we're going to start tightening this up again. When I can get it lined up. There we go. Beautiful. This is such a simple idea. When Bob sent this stuff over to me, 102 viewers. This is amazing. Make sure that you subscribe to Bob's channel because I reckon he's a clever bugger. Okay, I'm going to keep tightening, tightening. He's got about 5 videos. There we go. That'll do me. Now, I haven't put the Loctite in there. It's an idea to do it. Now, see what we've got here. And it springs back on its own accord. Watch this. Push down, push that across, and it's holding that handle down. Now, from the top, what do you reckon? You can do an email address on there, Chris. It doesn't worry me. Not a problem at all. So there we go. That is Bob's invention. Now, you could have the router in there. Let me drop the router in and lock it. Yes, 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 yes. That's all good. And I love it. This is so good. And then if I say, okay, I've finished doing all my shelf pins, all I do is push this down. You watch. You ready? You're going to get excited. I'm warning you. Here we go. See that? It's popped out of the way. And now, locked. Can't move it. Push it down. And then I can move it again. See, around the back here. Up. Push it down. Push that across. Anywhere I want. Marvelous. So that's what's he called it? DWLO-01. The second thing, as I said, was the base plate. Now this is the part where it gets interesting. What he's done is, apart from just make the base plate, and it's got a nice chamfer there as well, so it's good for dust extraction, all that kind of stuff. We've got the kit. So this is DW-001. What came first, the chicken or the egg, Bob? Did you do this one first, or did you do that first? I think this one might have been first. Anyway, I'll show you what's inside. Yep, it'll be a good workout, Michael. So we've got 2 printed knobs with a captured nut inside, 2 of those. We have a centering mandrel, and we have this little guy here. Now what that does, this centering guy, it allows you, get this is bloody clever. You know how I showed you that picture? I'm going to show you again so you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know how that rocking plate is there? So it's designed so you can click left or right, and advance the router to the next position. Well, this little fellow allows you to pull the pin all the way up and lock it open, and then use the router as a slide for dados using the LR32 rail. So all you need is the LR32 rail and the Festool's base plate, one of these little guys or whatever other router. So this and Bob's kits. Bloody clever. I love things like that. Now, this guy. The LR32 system, I think their centering mandrel has got an 8mm collet. I think. Bob has got this, which is a 1/4 inch here. So you slide this into, and we'll do it. Why not? I'll take it out. So there's the 1/4 inch collet. And he suggests you slide it in all the way down until it touches the bottom there. And then you lock using the spindle lock. Tighten that up. Don't have to be Samson or Hercules, just so it holds it. And then when it's in the router, back over here, and take the dust port off to do this part. So I'm not going to just talk about it, I'll do it. Come on. There we go. Done. There. So take that out. And then there's going to be something else under there to remove, I'm sure. That's right. There's a couple of screws under there as well. Take that out, and then you can push the mandrel all the way down, and it lines up with the center here. So you can roughly center it. These 2 guys here, they go down onto the LR32 plate, and I'll show you again exactly where they go. See where the 2 knobs are? So you've got the large knob in the middle to the left, and you've got 2 smaller knobs, on one right out on the extreme right, and the one under the larger knob. And you can also see their centering mandrel is 8mm all the way down. So what you do is you use these instead of the 2 large knobs that come with the setup, and this will lock it down onto this guy and this guy. that one there, and there, and there, and there. And these holes are slightly larger than the bolts coming up. See, Bob's thought of it all. So you can now move this around ever so carefully on the LR32 plate and then tighten these knobs up. And that's how you're going to center it. And it's going to be absolutely perfect. Very, very clever. Then you pull this out to release the pin, and it can drop down and do your locating again and again and again and again. Now, you heard me say earlier that the Craig system is what I have. And what's the difference? Well, clean entries through products like melamine. The faster a router cutter is turning, the cleaner the entry is going to be through a surface like melamine. Festool have a couple. One of them is kind of like a diamond point cutter, and the other one is like a brad point cutter. So I would possibly go even with just a standard spiral, no, not even a spiral, probably just a standard, or maybe just get one of their Festool's cutters and put it in your trimmer. They're expensive, but you know, it depends on what you're doing. Now, the problem with the Craig one is very minimal. If you're doing plywood, not a problem at all. If I'm doing it with, because you use a drill, and drills only go up to 3,900 RPM. I've never seen a drill turn faster than that. My Pro Tool drill, which will be here somewhere, it's probably hiding. Maybe it's in the toolbox. Yep, there it is. This is a Pro Tool quad drive, which is the same as the Festool quad drive. It's the predecessor to it. It's exactly the same. It's made by the same company, but it's got orange and black instead of green and dark blue. See this? Festool battery. Goes straight onto it. Same company. Pro Tool's not around anymore. Anyway, full top gear, which is 4 speed. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4 speed gearbox. That is 3,900 RPM. This guy here, I think it goes 27,000 RPM. So a big difference. So much cleaner entry. I get reasonably good entry with this. In plywood makes no difference. But melamine, I have had a little bit of chip here and there. Cool. I'm reading down through here. That gets the router centered on the guide plate. Finger tight is all you need. I always wanted to ask, what's the story behind your workshop board above on the ceiling? Oh, this. My granddaughter made that for me. That was Zoe made that when she was doing manual arts or woodwork at school. And it was one of the projects she did for the end of the year. And she said, here you go, Granddad. You may not like it. I said, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so it stays here with me all the time. I love it. I'll show you close up because it's just lovely. There you go. How cool is that? You would pay a graphic designer a lot of money to make something like that, to replicate what a child at school can do. This is gold. This is absolute gold. I should have got Zoe to sign it. She actually wrote on the back. Can you see it there? I love it. All right, it's going to go back up. There you go, Bajira. Oh, Bajira, while you're there, let me see if I've still got it here. I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't go wandering off looking for things halfway through the show because I may not be able to find them. If I stumble across it during the show, I'll grab it and I'll show you guys. Something I got from Bajira that I'm very, very happy with. Extremely happy. Anyway, further down the track. So there you go. That's Bob's half hour of fame, 25 minutes of fame. I'm super stoked and I'm tempted to buy the LR32 plate because I've got the rest of the stuff. Why not? I've even got the Festool router, so I don't need this. But if you're thinking about doing it and you think, well, you know, I've already got some big routers. Do I need to go and buy a Festool router? And you've already got one of these things. give it a thought. You know, why not? Why not? Anyway, brilliant idea. I shall put all this over to this side, and that's not a bad viewers project. Now, if you've got a viewers project or something like Bob's designed, and you want me to show it to people on the show, why not? Why not? Send it in to me. Send me an email. There are links in the description box below the video. So if you've got a phone, just push that little button underneath. Hold it upright. If you hold the phone this way up, there's a little button here somewhere. You push that and everything comes up underneath, and you can have a look at the description, and that will have all the links as well. So you won't get left out of it. 119 watching. Okay, now, my tool chest. I had a disaster. Laura, another grandchild, came around last night, and she was saying, she wants me to build her a coffee table, and that's the next little thing we're going to have a look at in a minute. So, while she was here, I was showing her the toolbox, the tool chest, because she hadn't seen it before. And she said, "Granddad, is that supposed to be like that?" I'll show you what she meant. Look at that. I'm going to come around this side, and I'll show you. See this? That's torn out. Now, that is one of the screws from the strap hinge coming down here. Now, what I'm going to do is repair it on the show. So it's not going to take long. And I'll tell you the reason why it happened. Remember that the screws that I used were very close to the full width of the 18mm pine that I'm using on the box. And I took it over and I ground the point flat. Now, whilst it stayed under the surface, the timber in this room had started to season to this room, and the moisture content in here isn't huge because it's got an air conditioner to keep me warm while it's really cold in winter. What is 432? Plate is 432. No, Stephen, it's 360. If you check for the LR32 plate, don't buy it with the two adapters on the side. Just get it, the plate itself. You don't need those little adapters on the side to space it. You can just put a mark. You know. So it's cheaper, and it's also on back order. So very popular item. 360 or 350, something like that. Australian, which is 20 cents anywhere else in the world, just about. Okay, so back to this. Buy it. I might do. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Stephen's idea of using Euro screws in here. So to do that, I'm going to take this off there. Take the bench off. The reason being, I take the bench off so I can get things down lower. And we'll pop the tool chest back up here again. We had an election yesterday. We've got a new Prime Minister. So there you go. It's like getting a new president. My big take home from it, I love pencils. So I was in the polling booth and they give you a pencil and there was a couple of pencils left there. So I just picked them all up. Like, I'm not going to leave them alone. Why not? I'll use them here. Little one behind the ear. There we go. Take your order of fruit and veggies. This off here. And the dog is being a whole lot better today because I've actually locked him in down here. He can't run away upstairs, can you? No. All right, we'll bring this over. This is such a nice tool chest. Actually, Laura, when she was here last night, said, "Why'd you paint it pink?" I said, "It's not paint, that's the colour of the timber." Okay, so I thought there might be people making comment about politics. So I've already done this side at there. So I'm going to work on that side over there. So I'll bring this around and I'll possibly go down. Let me see. Move a couple of things. We got plenty of time. Half an hour left in the show. Pardon me. I'm trying to get over this bloody cold I've had. You know, I had COVID about 4 weeks ago, and then I caught a cold after it, and I thought, oh, maybe I've got COVID again, but I don't think so. And it's just holding on. I don't know whether it's because I just haven't stopped long enough, or whether it's because I haven't had any other bugs for so long, because we've had such a good run with no bugs getting around at all. Okay, I think we're going to be pretty good with that, and that will let me show you all the stuff there. Now I've got to find the mouse to put it in the right direction. Keyboard's gone. What are you doing, Pierre? Don't you throw up. He's a cheeky bugger. Hey, what? What are you doing? Here we go. We'll go to this other camera. There we go. So that'll let you see what I'm doing in here. Don't you love this box? So it's this screw here is the culprit. So I'm going to take all of these screws off right now. Thank heavens the one at the other end's holding it. And I'm going to drill a hole through those, because I need a 6mm diameter hole for the Euro screws to work. So I've got a 6mm in the CXS. One, two, three, and then the last one, I don't want to go through my fingers, so I'll put a packer in behind it. Some more CNC stuff. Well, that's part of the next project, so just patience, patience, patience. Okay, now I need to use this guy here, which is a self-centering drill. I need to go in deep enough so that the screw doesn't bottom, because that can be just as bad. Done. And the Euro screws are these ones. Now, I'm going to have a quick think. Yep, so these are the Euro screws. And they're a blunt, very, very coarse thread. But I'm thinking for a second here, and this is probably a smart idea. I'm going to undo the ones that I've already done on this side, and I'm going to take the lid off, because I need to put a deep throat clamp over to glue the outside of the box. So we'll do that first. There's the lid, off it comes. And then we can jump away from this camera. Like so, and rotate it around. And there's the problem right there. You can see the shadow from the light above. So the fix for this is quite easy. There's a tiny little dent there, but I'm not concerned about that. I shall get a skewer. I think I've got some skewers here. I do. See, little things like a packet of bamboo skewers, very, very handy. These things, use it all the time. So I put a little bit of glue on it. Well, I thought I'd cleared it off. There it is, gone. I don't want to use too much. And I can poke it all the way inside there to make sure that we're going to get to it. Did you watch Cole's show again this morning? Back on air and doing stuff with the Gifkin's jig. Cole's great. He gives his time freely to do all this for you. Pam madly working in the background with the camera. She should get a job at one of the TV stations. Okay, that's enough. Now what I'm going to do there, just to save everything, is use a bit of this. This is baking paper. You could use greaseproof paper if you wanted to. Same kind of thing, I guess. My school lunches used to get wrapped up in this kind of stuff when I was a kid. And I'll get a deep throat clamp, which is here. These things are bloody pricey, but man, oh man, when you need them, they are fantastic. I'm going to advance it a little bit because I want it to be able to step over the lip here. Done. I'll leave that for a few hours. And that should, it really should be invisible. You won't see it. That's the plan. That's the plan. All right, now the next thing is, I did mention that Laura was here last night. And with her fella, move this over here. And she said, Grandad, I need a coffee table. We're moving into a new house and I need a coffee table. And I said, right, how about I make one for you? So what I'm going to do is, she said, have you got, I made some ones out of red gum slabs and they were really, really nice. There's one kicking around and there was 2 frames lying around. I had some frames made. I've made of mine, made them up for me. So these are the frames and they've been out in the garden for a long time. Actually upside down in a drain. I'll show you a picture. That's criminal. There we go. That's the one you're looking at right now. So that's a drain and you know, everyone's got a rubbish pile that they don't want to talk about. That's where this was. So back this way. I might just turn that around slightly. There we go. So it's got a lot of rust. So I'm going to have to clean that off. See down the end there? I'm talking, there's a lot of rust. This was painted black gloss. And that's what I'll do. I'll take it back to being black gloss. And it's already got holes drilled in. This is 1/4 inch by 2 by 1/4 steel flat bar. And I think it's 5/8 rod. Yeah, 5/8 diameter rod. And I think this is 3/8 diameter rod on the cross members. So the legs were shaped. See the feet? He did a really nice job for me. They're flattened out like that and then turned up. And there's no rocking. It sits really well. So what I'm going to do is I will use the Rotex to clean the main part of it. And then I'm going to use that Rust-Oleum. Paint it to get rid of the rest of it. So Rust-Oleum, there's links, there's a Carbotech link down there for guys in Australia. If you go through that, you can also get Rust-Oleum posted out. It's cheaper than Super Cheap Auto does it for. So it's a bargain, if they're still carrying it. So the pad that I was going to use on it is around here somewhere. It's called Fleece, and it's spelt V-L-I-E-S. Velize is how it's, you know, you'd want to, there it is, you'd want to pronounce it, but it's actually spelt V-L-I-E-S. Now it's an aluminium oxide pad. It's like a mesh, or that's why they call it fleece. But in German it's pronounced Valise, or Valise. Anyway, so there's a couple of different grades. This is 320, I think it is, and the other one I use is 800. The other one I use when I'm doing waxing. So not in nether regions, when I'm waxing on the tables. So it polishes things up really well. But this one will be used on the Rotex, and it just gets rid of the stuff pretty quickly right at the beginning. But I've got some massive build-up of rust here. So it's going to be a little bit of work. Now, it's about this long. I want it to overhang possibly about this far. So it might be 4.5 feet long, which is 1350. And the width, it'll probably be around about 600, maybe 700 millimeters. So that's the size of a small standard door width. And I'm going to go down the same track I did with my drawing board. I'm thinking I'm going to do a river table for her. I know river tables have been done to death, and they haven't been done for a while. So it might be the resurgence of the river table. I know Tools today has just been doing one. He's done a lovely job of it. Now, let me see. I've got a piece of wood down here that I'm going to use. And it's got bark on it still. Here we go. So this is a chunk of camphor, and it's been in the workshop for a long time. So I will get a piece out of that, go that direction. Quite nice. Smells great. I love the smell of camphor laurel. The other side, you can see it's still got bark on it, so I'll strip all the bark off and hit it with a wire brush and clean it up so that it can bond to the resin properly. So that'll be one side, and then I was thinking about doing some floating islands. So I'll show you what I mean. When I put that away without it dropping and going smash during the show, that'd be horrible. So I've got these as well. So these are just chunks of camphor. Now you would recognize this kind of thing from the previous table that I did, which was the soda blasting. Works really well. Cool. So what's that, Chris? Only 10-inch table saw on the top needs cleaning. Keep from rust on the top, please. Yes, have a look back through my videos, Chris. Just type in cast iron surface clean Rotex, and I'll show you how I did my jointer. So it's all been done. All right, so there you go. We can have a chat in the patrons meeting after the show if you want, Chris. So there we go. There's 3 of them. So I'll go to CalCam and you can have a bit of a look at what it might look like. I don't know if Laura's going to like that or not. So maybe something like that, or they might just be 2 of them. 2 of them in a row, and that other big fellow right down the side, and resin around and about. I think that'll look okay. I'm hoping. Now, the kind of resin I'm going to use. There's a lot of people use all sorts of resins on the internet, on YouTube, and I just wanted to say the one that I use, that I've had a lot of good results with. Nothing has ever failed. Nothing's cracked, nothing's gone twisting, nothing's released the timber. It has held rock solid. It's rigid. Now, it's by this mob here. This is the stuff that I use. Rigid from Perfect Cast. See that? Can't pour more than 20 millimeters thick at a time. Got to leave it cure till the stage where it's finished all its bubble release. What I do is I pour, if I'm going to do something that's say 50 millimeters thick, I'll set up my mold, and that's what I'm going to do during the week or next weekend. We'll do that. Set a mold up. Seal all the way around with a caulking compound, and then I'm going to spray it with a resin release agent. So I spray it with this stuff over the top of the melamine. Then I'll use a bit more caulking compound under the individual pieces of wood, only a little bit, and basically glue them to the base. I think it'll work all right with the release. If I find it doesn't, then I'll use clear contact over the top of the melamine. It's the same as using packing tape, and go that way. So I might do a little bit of practice during the week, see what happens. Then once all of my pieces of timber are down, that way I don't have to have things going across, holding down. I could put weights on. You know what? I might even do that. I might just put weights on top. I've got plenty of weights there from, back in the day. And then I'll mix up enough to do a 10mm thick pour. So it's 3/8 of an inch only. Now, when I've done that, with the pigment in it, the color and all that kind of stuff, when it's flowed out everywhere, it's going to flow underneath and all over the place. What I do then is I get a paintbrush and I paint the resin up the side of the timber. So everywhere there's edges of timber here, I'll paint it up the side to seal it, and then hit it with the gun and release the bubbles. And then there's no more mucking around with the timber releasing bubbles in the second and third pour. So I'll do 10mm to start. I'll leave that overnight. Then I'll come back the next day and I'll pour 20mm with the color in exactly the same ratios. Leave that overnight. Don't sand it or anything like that. Come back the next day, do the final pour. Now with the final pour, sometimes I create dams around the top of the pieces of timber so the resin doesn't float over the top. But there's an easier way to do it, and that is just to control how much resin you pour on. Because this is the part that Chris is concerned about with the CNC. Then I will take it out to the CNC and I will surface the whole thing in 9 days. This rigid takes 9 days. If something's good, it's worth waiting for. I have seen people pour bucket loads of resin in one go. And I'm curious to see how that ends up after a year or two. Because I know mine is perfect, absolutely perfect, hasn't moved, warped, twisted. It's my drawing table upstairs, been using it for ages. And not a problem. So just curious. There are other products that this mob do that is called deep cast. It's only for filling holes. Don't use it as for a river table or something like this where you want to have a lot of strength in it. It's not going to work. It'll fail. It'll crack. So I know a lot of people that buy it under the assumption that it's going to work. It's not. It ain't. So don't do it. This is the stuff. Rigid, if you want it to last. Let me read down here. Dave, check out and get an Elgato Stream Deck. So you don't have to touch them. They're pretty cool and been using them for some of my videos. Vajira, no, I've got one. I don't like them. I really don't like them. I prefer the mouse. And if people are wanting to hang around and watch while I fumble through things, that's all part of the appeal of the show. Some people get very bored and impatient and off they go. Well, I can't help you. But there are so many things. I change it every week. There are so many things, and there's not enough areas on one of those things for me to remember. I know you can label them all and, away you go, but no. I'm quite happy, this little fellow here, and I'm done. Okay, what's the cost, Dave? It's not cheap. So if you buy it as a kit, depends on how much volume you've got. Just jump on, have a look down in the bottom there, go to the link for Carbotech, which is an affiliate link. If you end up buying something there, the show will get some kind of a remuneration for introducing. It's not going to cost you any more. It's just between me and Carbotech. Rigid is very good. So go in there, have a look. As I say, it's not cheap. You can look at how many litres is this? 10. This is 15 litres. Have a look. I'm not sure. but it's going to be up around the $800 mark Australian. So it is what it is. All right, what else? I think that might be just about ready for me to put some screws on. Actually, what I'll do, whilst we're waiting for the show to finish off, is I'll take the screws out of the top and I'll replace them, because it'll be easy to see while I'm here with this particular camera. I want to put it on something that's going to protect it. So I'll put it back up on the Stanton bench, because it's got the cushion strips. There it is, over there. I took it for a long walk. Come back. Yeah, I've had a lot of people say, get the Stream Deck, get the Stream. As I said, I got one, and I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. I know Cole uses one, but I don't know if Cole shows photos all the time as well. I know he just jumps in between the different cameras he's got, but I often throw up a heap of photos as well, and it's will end up stuffing me up. I've got enough to think about without thinking about another thing to think about, if that makes sense. All right, so there we go. I've got the hinges back here. Let's undo those and rectify them. So for those that haven't seen how I counted expansion and contraction on the actual top. So this is long grain, this is long grain, and it's handling it really well. So basically, got a few minutes. These are pocket holes that I did with the Craig pocket hole jig, and they're single. The glue comes across here and down here and stops here. There's no glue further down here or here. These pocket holes, you'll notice that the hole is larger than the ones at the top. Okay, so all of these, yeah, Cole loves his Stream Deck. Good on you, buddy. These are double pocket holes that are about 4 millimeters offset to each other. So you've got the center line, and center line's 4 millimeters. So I've drilled a pocket hole. It's kind of gone down the side and reamed it open. The screw has been put right in the center. It's there and there. So the screw has got around about more than 4 millimeters, which is, you know, just over 1/8 of an inch of travel inside here. Now, these are resin that I poured with purple pigment in it. And before I poured the resin, I went in there with caulking compound and covered the top of the screw without forcing it in. So the screw can still move under that caulking compound. The caulking compound's set, and then the next day I poured the resin, and I sanded it all off a couple of days later. And that's how I did it. And it's working absolutely beautifully. So let's whip this out. And put those over there. And now it's too short, hey Chris? Some would disagree with you. They say, oh, it's too long. Egocentric. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Who would have thought my bench could be used as a drill press or as an accessory to holding it? Beautiful. And we've got those holes there, so I'm just going to open them up with this other drill bit. A little bit more. Just didn't want to go right the way through. That's looking pretty cool. Euro screws are here. And putting the hinge back in the right manner. And also for people that weren't aware, what I've done is I've made these strap hinges with a fold in them instead of using butt hinges on the lid. Because when you open the lid up, and I've designed it so it hasn't got any chains or rod or whatever to retain the lid from going backwards, because I didn't want them in a way. It actually sits on this back section, on this lip at the back, and there's a hole. That's a massive amount of leverage and pivot point, and it would have just pulled the screws straight out of a standard butt hinge. So these are all working in shear action. Okay, so this is right up the inside of the box, and this goes across the top of the lid. So as it opens it up to go out, it's going to have to start snapping the screws off, and it's just not going to happen. It ain't going to happen. Now we're going like that, and back to around 3. And a screw here. And hopefully it's going to work. Otherwise, come on. It didn't work. I didn't go deep enough. I've got to go a little bit deeper than that, David. Hammer, 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 hammer. Just lifted it a little bit. It'll be behind the hinge, so it's not going to be too much of a concern. That's better. I think that's it. Fingers crossed. I think that drill has got a step, so it can't go any further. Yes, it has, as a matter of fact. Look at that. So that's going to stop it automatically at that depth. So that's fine. Let's try it again. Oh, beautiful. How good is that? Why didn't I do this first off, Stephen? Come on. Oh, magic. So it's no way going to go through. Like, what are we looking at? The difference there. It's finishing a good 6 millimeters away from the end. Done. You know what? I'm going to finish this off. There's no need for everyone to hang around and watch me. We'll go and jump into the Patreon meeting. Let's read out the patrons' names as well, if I've got them here. These are the people that are on a certain level or above that support me financially to keep me bringing this content to you. And believe me, it's a lot of work. Anyway, so I read their names out on the show every now and then, and their names will be in the description box at the bottom. So we've got Johannes Mohr, John Parra, Vincent Ngian, Peter Woolworth, Brett Guthrie, Mike Deam, Wayne Cargill, Mr. Blue Eyes. I've got to check his real name. John Peckham, Graeme Bland, Russell Hibbs, Seamus, and Chris Sullivan just recently. So there you go. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. For my patrons, all right through from $1 all the way up. Thank you so much. It really does keep me coming back every week. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing it. Now I've gone and lost the mouse, and everyone's going to say, told you so, you should have used it. Oh, dearie, dearie me. There it is. Ha. Okay, so there you go. Thanks again to everyone. Thanks for watching. Look after yourselves. Be nice to each other. And let me see if I can find it here. I'll see you next week. Patron meeting right after the show.